Before we start, can we just take a moment to note that I have completed the 12 video challenge. So for a little bit of context, I filmed my first book talk video 4 years ago during COVID. So I wanted to film like my own book talk video for a while now, but it's really intimidating and I was putting it off. But then COVID happened and I was home all day and I thought I no longer had an excuse to put it off, so I decided to give it a go. But instead of just filming one video, I decided to give myself a challenge to film 12 videos. And it was actually originally inspired by another booktuber called Haley on Haley in Bookland. And she did something called the 12 Days of Bookmas, where video number 1, she would talk about one bookish thing. And then video number 2, she would talk about 2 bookish things, and etc. And so I wanted to do that too. But I didn't want to limit this just for Christmas, so I just called it, instead of calling it the 12 Days of Bookmas, I just called it the 12 Video Challenge. It took me 4 years in the making, but I'm finally here. I'm on my last video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about 12 books I would like to read before I die. So this video is going to be kind of a reading bucket list situation, and definitely there are more than 12 books that I want to read before I die, but the books on this list are either kind of intimidating and I'm a little bit scared to tackle them just yet, but I really want to tackle them eventually, or these can be books that I feel like just aren't that suitable for this season of my life, but again, eventually I would really want to read these books. So I have several little categories, and the first categories are the intimidating books. So these are books that are large, they have many pages, and they might be a little bit hard to read or hard to understand. The first book on this list, I'm actually in the middle right now, so hopefully by the time I upload this video, I'll be able to at least check this one book off my bucket list, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo. So yeah, look at how beautiful this edition is. I got this book at the New York Public Library, and look, it's so beautiful, the pages. The only downside is the print is a little bit small, but I think actually having this kind of leather copy, it really does motivate me to get into it. And I think this book, even though it's very large, it's a lot more readable than some of the other like classics that I've encountered. And this book is it has so many dialogues, it almost feels like watching a play. And I think because Alexandre Dumas is a playwright, I'm not sure, but I think this story is just like very dramatic, and I can visualize it, and I feel like it would be really good on screen or on stage as well. And the next book on this list is The Silmarillion. So some of you may know that I just recently finished reading The Lord of the Rings. So it's kind of the logical progression that after successfully tackling The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion will be next. I'd also want to read The Hobbit because I haven't read that yet, but The Silmarillion is really on the top of the intimidating books list. I know that The Silmarillion is probably really difficult to understand, but I really want to know more about just the history of Middle-earth, the language, the elves, and whatever else Tolkien has in store for us. I'm just very excited for that. Next up is, there are actually 2 books by the same author, which is The Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment, both of them by Dostoevsky. So I filmed a video like a while ago where I read War and Peace by Tolstoy. A lot of people say if you read Tolstoy, you should also read Dostoevsky, because Tolstoy, they're both Russian authors, but Tolstoy is kind of more of an upper class kind of author, but Dostoevsky is a little bit more down to earth, and you would see how these people from different backgrounds would write differently. So I actually don't know too much about what these two books are about, and I'm actually kind of deliberately not wanting to know too much, because I think the thing about classics is that sometimes they're so talked about that you kind of know what happens even without reading it. And sometimes it kind of takes away the thrill or enjoyment of reading. But luckily for War and Peace, I really went in knowing nothing. I didn't even read the synopsis, so the only thing I can infer of is the title. So yeah, the only thing I can infer about that book is the title, and I think it's really interesting because I just feel surprised at every turn, and there are moments when I was like, oh, I didn't know this theme would be explored in War and Peace, or oh, this book talks about that as well. That's so cool. So that's the same thing for the Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment. I really want to go in knowing next to nothing and just dive straight in. And then the last book in the intimidating books category is another Tolstoy, which is Anna Karenina. Again, I don't know too much about it, but I know a lot of people love it, sometimes even more than War and Peace. So I'm very curious about what else Tolstoy is gonna give to us. Yeah, and I'm really curious about a book where the main character is a woman and how kind of authors from that era is portraying this, and I feel like it would be very interesting to delve into. So these are all my intimidating books. The next category is Shakespeare. So I know some people might want to like go through every single Shakespeare play, but for me, I think I'm happy with just, you know, watching the play or watching a movie adaptation of a Shakespeare play. But there are two plays in particular that I really want to read through, like the text as well, and really just go through that whole thing. And the first one would be Hamlet. I think the reason for that is because I feel like Hamlet is just such a representative and signature work of Shakespeare. So many people love it. And again, I feel like I actually don't know too much about Hamlet, and I want to keep it that way and just want to delve into it. But I kind of know that I think the Disney Lion King is a little bit inspired by Hamlet, so I can kind of guess what's gonna happen. But again, I'm very excited to read a little bit more Shakespeare. And the other Shakespeare work would be Macbeth, and I want to go into this one because it was on, so I was in international school several years ago when I was in middle school, and I left the international school in 11th grade and went back to Taiwan. So I knew that on our curriculum we were supposed to read Macbeth in 11th grade, but since I left the school and went back to Taiwan, I never got to read Macbeth, and that kind of just felt like I knew my classmates were doing that when I was in Taiwan. So that, it's almost like a kind of a childhood thing where I want to do that. It's kind of like a kind of empty space in my childhood where I want to fill. So Macbeth would be the other Shakespeare work that I want to read physically. The next category is classics. And I know that there are already several classics in the intimidating books category, but this category is specifically classics, and they might not be that intimidating or contain that many pages, but these are books that I want to go through at least once in my lifetime. And the first two books are The Alchemist and The Catcher in the Rye. And I want to read these two books for kind of the same reason, because I hear so many people, there are so many opposing opinions about these two books. I hear like people either love it dearly or they hate it to the core, and I just want to see for myself which side I'm at, or if I'm somewhere in the middle. So again, The Alchemist and The Catcher in the Rye, they are often kind of required readings for middle school, but somehow I never got that, so I think it would be up to me to pick them up. So definitely one day I would want to read these two books. The next book is Brave New World, and the reason why I want to read this is because I read 1984, and as you know, 1984 is a dystopian novel about an authoritarian regime where people's actions, thoughts, language, everything is very controlled. Like, people no longer have any free will, and it's just a very oppressive government system. And Brave New World is similar, but instead of having this kind of authoritarian, suffocating kind of control, the government kind of lets the people indulge in just happiness and do whatever they want, so that the people don't even think twice or question the government. So it's kind of like two sides of the same coin, like 1984 and Brave New World. They're kind of like counterparts. So I think it would be a very important kind of conversation to have. And since I've already read 1984, I'm really curious about its counterpart, Brave New World, and how authoritarian governments can manifest in these two kind of opposite ways, but they're also kind of the same thing. And then the last book in the classics category is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I've actually read the abbreviated version when I was 6 years old, and I don't even think I actually read it. I just kind of looked through the illustrations because the abbreviated version has like pictures in it, so I kind of just flipped through. So unfortunately, I kind of already know what happens throughout the book, but at the time it was kind of scary or a little bit too grotesque for me. But I think I'm at the point where I can tackle the original. I think I'm old enough to handle the intensity and the darkness of Frankenstein. And I also feel like Frankenstein would be a book that is packed with metaphor and symbolism that makes you think about our real world and how we view people who are different from us. For me, I don't want Frankenstein to be a book that I read just on the metro or waiting for the bus. I want this to be a book where I can really sit with and think through it and really just ponder over. Finally, our last category is, the category is just, because the book that I want to read is Twilight. Yes, it is Twilight, you didn't hear wrong. And before you click away from this video, let me explain why Twilight is on my bucket list. Because shockingly, I have never read any book from Twilight. I've never watched the movies, but I've seen countless memes about Twilight and countless people kind of dissing the entire movie and the books. So again, I want to know where I stand in all of this, like how would I feel? So that's one of the reasons. And also, no matter what you think about it, I really think Twilight is very influential. It's a part of so many people's childhood, and it really made the vampire thing kind of a big sensation. I am aware that a lot of people say the plot of Twilight just isn't that good. The characters aren't that likable and the romance is cringy, but I feel like this would be such a good book to read when I'm at a point in my life when I'm just so stressed and I just need some cheesy romance and something cringy to get a good laugh out of it. I feel like perhaps Twilight would be that book for me. So despite a lot of people saying don't read it, that's a waste of time, I think I'll still take the risk, and if I waste my time, I'll waste my time. So this is it for the 12 books I want to read before I die, and I don't know if I'll ever get through all of this, but I'm definitely working on it. So please wish me luck and let me know what your reading bucket lists are. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again next time. Bye!